All right, we'll get into it. We'll get going.
Cool.
Hey everyone, welcome to our episode with Joey. Before we get started today, I want to shout out Elevate Marketing Group. If you need a website made, they're the guys you want to get in contact with. Also, want to give a shout out to Wellway's Standby Program, which is a national suicide prevention service that provides practical support to anyone who's been impacted by suicide.
Hi everyone.
Ben, do you want to say
hi? Hi Joey.
Bro, you're a terrible co-host. I don't know why this guy's here. But yeah, hey Joey, how are you? Tell us about yourself. Joey's a guy. Sorry, I literally just blueballed you right then because I said tell us about yourself, and I'm gonna tell people about you. But Joey makes TikToks. He makes some really interesting TikToks. Some are quite funny, but he also makes TikToks that are quite captivating about mental health and things of that nature. I find them quite interesting personally because like the acting in them is really good as well. Like you play a lot of different roles of different guys, and yeah, it's quite interesting.
Appreciate it.
Tell us about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm a 22-year-old male, obviously.
Well, you just never know.
It's not obvious anymore, mate.
You never know.
We don't want to assume.
It's 2022. We've got to be careful.
Yeah, exactly.
I live down in the I live down in the Mornington Peninsula. If you know where that is. Oh, you boys are Sydney, aren't you?
No clue.
No, Canberra.
Oh, Canberra.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm down on the peninsula, which is just a little coastal area in Melbourne. And yeah, I've been doing TikTok since our first lockdown in 2020. And then, I was just doing, kind of hopefully like relatable stuff that, we can all relate to, school stuff, family stuff, all just Australian kind of comedy. And, I had a big view on mental health, specifically men's mental health. And I just kind of thought, well, I can, as you said, like act out, scenarios where, your anxiety or, your depression might be spiked. And, at the end of the video, I just kind of did like, okay, well, we're going to get one character try and resolve it with the character who's struggling. And they did really well. They got a good reception. And, I was always like, shit, is it kind of like corny to post this sort of stuff? Because, there is that stigma where you've got to be, tough as a male, which in my opinion is complete horseshit. But yeah, so I post that, and I was always a little bit worried about, people being like, oh, he's just doing it for attention or views or comments. And I'll let them think that. Good on them. But yeah, no, that wasn't my intention at all. And they got a great reception, and I got a lot of messages from them. And then some boys down in the Mornington Peninsula where I live started a little fun, like, I don't know, charity group called Speak Share, and I've joined that. And that's pretty much, the start of the story.
Do you know Dylan Roos?
Dylan who?
Dylan Roos.
Nah, should I?
Okay. He's a guest we had. I think he actually talked about SpeakShare.
Yeah, he might have. Yeah, they're doing really well.
Yeah, I think he did actually.
Yeah,
because we had a look afterwards, and we actually saw a photo of you on there, and we were like, hang on a sec, like...
Small world? Familiar. Yeah, wow.
Very small world.
No, I don't know him. What's he do?
Pardon, sorry?
What's he do, Dylan?
So he's a masculinity coach, and he's based in Hawaii. We actually, did an episode with him recently. But yeah, he's a masculinity coach, and he just talks about men's mental health and that kind of thing. And I believe that he told us that we should look into SpeakShare and see what those guys are doing.
Yeah, doing a lot of good things.
I think it's quite interesting that you actually say that, you're worried about people thinking that you were doing all that for attention, because there's not many people that actually speak out about mental health and that kind of thing on TikTok. So I do understand why you would have thought that, but to anyone who does think that, I don't really think it's valid to think that, because it's a very difficult topic to bring up, and then especially the way you do it, you make it quite engaging, and it's very well done because it brings it to the forefront of people's minds, but not in a sad way in terms of, it's not too intense. It's not too like you have to do this, you have to do that. You rather just, just bring it up in normal conversation. I was actually watching one of your TikToks today about the guy at the party, and he was talking about attention seeking. And you played both sides, and you were telling the guy, like you might think it's attention seeking, but actually we get in our own heads. It's often us getting in our own way.
Like every time you go into the gym. Yeah, like every time you go to the gym, hugely, you walk in there and you're like, oh my God, all these guys are staring at me. Like, am I not lifting heavy enough weights and stuff? And you get in your own head. I could guarantee they've just looked at you and gone, oh, okay, somebody's coming to the gym. Oh, he's doing tricep pull down.
I know you, man.
Just get on with their stuff. Yeah, and we always overthink it. We always do. And like, even the people who act like they don't, everybody does. There's nobody who doesn't.
It's actually a good example of the gym. It's pretty crazy. I was actually speaking to someone at just a little event I was at a couple of weeks ago, and I was speaking to someone, and they were like, "Oh, I love what you do." And this was a kind of close friend. And I had no idea. She goes, "I love what you do on TikTok, and I love those videos that you do." And then she goes, "This is what's going on in my life." And I'm like, whoa, I did not expect that. It is so crazy. Like, it's got to be nearly 1 in 2.
No, like, it's mental health and stuff like that. It's so common nowadays, but people don't know how to express themselves or share their opinion without feeling judged or their problems being minimized. Because somebody else would go, like, Emeka and I have this conversation a lot, like, Emeka, something might happen in his life, and I'm like, okay, that's not really that big of a deal. To me, it isn't. But to him, it could literally be the start of a downward spiral. So not to negate somebody's emotions and feelings. And that's why being able to validate and talk to people and see from their perspective and just hear them out. It might not seem like a big deal, but them just saying it is the first step to being able to help.
Yeah, exactly. And that's right. Like, someone might be going through something that's tiny to you, but that's massive to them. And you've just got to go, okay, well, he's one of my mates. So I've got to make it massive for me.
Exactly.
Because he's part of my life. Like, he falls, I fall kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I think men struggle with as well is, just get a beer in you and we'll have a drink and whatever.
Yeah, we'll get pissed and we'll talk about it later.
Exactly. But how many times, like, I've actually called mates and gone, look, I'm struggling today. And they're like, all right, we'll go for a beer tonight. And I've sat there and cried to my mates. And they're looking at me going, oh, crap, okay. We actually don't know what to say or do. And I'm like, you don't have to say or do anything. I've got it off my chest to somebody who isn't my mum, my dad, or my brother. I've got it out to somebody else. And then they come back to me and they tell me what's going on in their life. And then a few of our mates are seeing that. And then they get involved. I've got 4 or 5 mates that every fortnight we go out for a drink now and we talk about life. And we go, man, I'm really struggling with this. And we come together as a group and we try and fix things. Okay, we don't fix things half the time, but we get it out in the open and we explain how we feel. Step. And I think men need to do this more.
Ben, that's a late.
Yeah, massively. So men need to do this. No, it took a while.
Yeah.
But as you get older and you realize that being a man isn't about being masculine in that sense.
No.
It's about being able to be vulnerable and being able to express how you feel and get on with shit, but in a productive and healthy way.
Being able to embrace yourself, for sure. So, Joey, when you're acting out these scenarios, do you have personal experiences that you're able to draw on?
Most of them will all be personal experiences.
Yeah, okay.
And, believe it or not, most of the time when I do make those videos, it only happened a day or 2 ago. So I'm still in that spiral, but that's just
still super raw, yeah.
let it out.
Mm. Okay, yeah, that's really awesome. So you use kind of TikTok in spreading awareness as a method to vent and deal with those feelings that you felt.
Yeah, and I'm one of the lucky ones. TikTok was never my intention to get big as it did, but it did, and I go, okay, well, I've got something here. People are pretty scared to speak out, so if I can kind of speak out for you, that'd be pretty epic.
Yeah, it's necessary because in a world in a time where, rightly or wrongly, people like Cardi B, Drake and stuff are shoved in our faces 24/7. I think we often forget to have these important conversations actually about how people are going, and what are you progressing towards? How are you dealing with the things that are happening in your world? And life can be chaotic, Joey, you had a lot going on yesterday. We had to reschedule today. Right now, my mom's calling me because she's unhappy about something. Ben's just, jumped on the call. But, even in the busyness of all our different situations, we're all just, still making sure that we make time for a topic such as this, which is quite important. It's quite important to talk about, not just how guys are doing, but how your friends, your family are doing, and make sure that everybody is still progressing towards the things they want to achieve.
Yeah.
So with that, I'll ask you, Joey, what's next for you? Like, what are you looking to achieve?
My next goal?
Yeah, and your next goals, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm kind of sliding away from the whole TikTok scene because acting is obviously what I want to do. So I'm kind of just going a little bit more quiet on TikTok and just focusing on acting, focusing on myself, fitness. It's hard, mate. Honestly, it's really hard to come up with so many ideas for TikTok. You feel like there's only so many relatable things, and there's millions that I haven't done. But when you're thinking so hard to think of a video, it just doesn't work. And the viewers can tell if it's forced. They can tell if you're not having fun doing it. And then you're cooked.
Yeah, one thing I try to talk to, because so I'm an artist myself and I work with other artists, for anybody that doesn't know. And one thing I try to explain to them is because they get worried about, if they're not writing songs every day, if they're not practicing their craft every day, are they going to get better or not? And I say that, it's important actually. And as that, I'm 23, so I'm a year older than you and I'm a year younger than Ben. But as I've gotten older, I've started to realize actually, even with perfecting a craft, so for you it might be acting, sometimes it's actually better to just experience life and not try and perfect your craft every day, but just go out and, have different experiences and stuff, and that will help you as you then trying to act or make music or whatever.
Oh, mate, I couldn't agree more. People are like, how do you act? And I'm just like, honestly, just go live life and just watch the world go around.
100%. That's literally the only reason I'm going to uni next year, man. It's the only reason. Absolutely not.
Yeah, people's life experiences are different. I won't say let's knock on everyone that's been to uni. People who've been to uni, obviously have had a path on their own. But I think what Ben referring to there is people who have just focused solely on study, right?
Yeah, no, they've just been at uni dissecting.
So, Joey, when you first started making TikToks, what were some of the challenges you faced? Like, was it hard to even, did you have to learn a lot of things? So, for example, even for me with music, I've learned that, there's different times you need to post and there's different things you need to post. And, there's so many things you actually have to learn that people who don't do those things actually realize. And it's actually a lot more difficult than it seems sometimes.
Yeah. So when I don't know if you did much digging. When I first started, I was doing Carl Barron. Do you know Carl Barron?
He's funny. The comedian.
He's an Aussie comedian, and I was just doing voiceover of his, and I was acting it out. And people love that. The older crowd love that, your 20, late 20s to mid 30s. They love that because they obviously know Carl Barron. The young, the young kids that are on it, they weren't really across it. But I was just making a TikTok at whatever time and posting it whatever time. Didn't really give two flying. And then when I started going into my own content, I was posting once again just at random times. And I was like, okay, I'm actually kind of working hard here. Let's just try and, see if we can get a little bit of traction. So, you do your digging, you go, hey, Google, what's the best time to post on TikTok? And it said like around 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. But I always made them in the morning. So I'd always wake up and make one. And I was always just so excited to post it. So I'd never post at 4 p.m. I'd post it at like 9 a.m. and everyone was at school. And then it just would do shit. But then, I then, started posting around 4. And I'd honestly really get in my head if a video didn't do well. I'd kick myself saying, mate, you suck. Like, you're not good at this. Just kind of get off it. And I said a lot of pretty dark things to myself. And one of my mates who I went to school with, who's also a TikToker, Liam Dowling, I just said, mate, like, I'm done. Because unfortunately, I wanted the views and likes more than I was enjoying it. And that's a pretty big problem in itself. So you're forcing videos out and you're just wanting it to do well. And he's like, mate, just take a breather. I'm like, mate, I'm deleting that. I hate it. It sucks. It's shit out. He goes, just take a breather. Just give it 10 days and come back to it.
It's exactly the same as what Kieran said. Like, it's okay to push through, but sometimes you need that off button just to relax. But at the same time, enjoy the process. Like, didn't he say something along the lines of, if you want to buy a Ferrari, you've got to enjoy the process of getting there? Because once you just buy the Ferrari, it's kind of like, oh, sick.
Said, learn to enjoy the process and learn to enjoy what you're doing. That way you're not so caught up in the results, and
exactly
believe in yourself and back yourself that you can get to where you want to get to. Because I think
that point resonated massively with me. Like, he told us like 3 or 4 things. If you're going to clip something and put it on Instagram,
believe in yourself and believe in what you're trying to achieve, because you can get the results that you want. Because, even in Joey's story, he never expected that he'd get to the level that he's got to, but he's been able to do that. The topic that we really keep talking about on this show is accepting yourself and not trying to be somebody else or live how you think other people want you to live. And, that's not always going to mean that you're the most popular person or the most liked person or whatever, but it means that you can have a relationship with yourself where you're enjoying yourself and you're not needing that external validation. You're not chasing the next party or the next whatever, trying to, fit in with this crowd or that crowd, but you're really in a position where you're like, you know what, actually, I do love myself. I do enjoy the person I am. Welcome back, Joey. We were just vibing. Nah, it's all right. It happens. It happens. Yeah. You wanted to join your classes, Ben.
It said restart studio. I'm like,
oh, really? Exactly. I probably just crashed. Yeah, it's all right. It's all good. No, we're just talking about how what you said ties in with what we've been talking about, embracing yourself and being accepting of yourself and not trying to live through the lens of what other people want you to be.
Yeah, exactly. You can't, do you guys know of the podcast Dill and Friends?
No, I don't.
So it's just some bloke, Dill Buckley, who played AFL. He's now got a podcast and he's got this quote. It's be yourself because everyone else is taken. And that really, resembles to me because, like, you kind of see someone that you admire and you kind of change your ways and you try to be like them. It's like people can see through that. You've just got to be yourself. And, I admittedly sometimes I'm not myself, I try and act like someone I'm not. So, there's only one, Joey Woodley, and that's who I've got to be.
No, but it's understandable that you do that, because one thing we have to do as well is try not to be too hard on ourselves. We're all at an age, even Ben
can only imagine
being the granddad that he is. We're all at an age where we're discovering who we want to be. I call 18 to like 26 your age of discovery. It's where you're trying to figure out what kind of person do I want to be? What kind of values do I want to uphold? Who are the people I think I should be surrounding myself with, et cetera, right? And so in that age, we're still getting out of the habits that we formed at school, where popularity was, the word of the day, was priority, and we did a lot of things that we shouldn't have done just to get people who we didn't even like to like us. And so we're now learning, okay, that's not actually the way that we want to live our lives. And in a world where we have TikTok and so many other apps which are giving us dopamine hits, it's so hard for us to do things that are beneficial for our long term, because we're now so fixated upon, short term gratification. So
yeah, the dopamine hits, man.
Crazy.
When a video's doing well and then the next one doesn't.
Yeah, literally. Wait, no. Sorry, everyone in the audience, it's just banter on this for now.
Yeah.
And then straight afterwards, I'll be calling my group of friends, going, "Emeka's mean to me again, man." It's ridiculous.
Oh my days! No, we enjoy it. To be honest, as well,
Definitely
the thing with us as well, we really enjoy this podcast. We really enjoy being able to share the stories of other people and allow people to see how other people live their lives and the tips they've learned in their journey. And that, for me, is what makes this whole podcast enjoyable. And that's why I do this, and that's why I show up to, record these episodes, because you get so much value from sitting back and listening to other people. From all different walks of life, whether it be making TikToks or in the APS or musicians or.
Yeah, so I think the first one I did, I got a lot of responses. I got messages on Instagram saying, thank you so much, or I'm going through this, or can you help me with this, which I tried to get to as many, respond to as many as I could, because there's one thing posting the videos, and then the other thing is actually helping someone, and the video might help in itself, but someone might be like, okay, well, I've seen this video, he's encouraged me to speak out, I don't really know who to speak out to, so I'll speak out to Joey. And I tried to respond to as many as I could. But when I say shitloads of messages came through. But then you also got, comments from, some people just being like, oh, this is a load of shit. And I'm just like, mate, get out of here. Like, go home. You suck, bro. Probably shouldn't say that, but you do.
No, I know what you mean. It's like, bro, can people just calm down and realize that, this is a really important conversation for a lot of guys, because guys, we live very differently to how women live, right? We're a lot more isolated. We do a lot more things alone, etc., etc. And so a lot more guys feel lost and don't know who to go to. And the fact that so many people were reaching out to you as well shows you that within their own communities, a lot of guys don't have people they can go to, because it's that same thing where they think they might want to go to someone, but that same person who's commenting in your video saying, oh, piss off, mate, like, don't talk about this, is in their friend group, and then they can't talk to that person. Do you know what I mean? And that creates a bigger problem for guys. Whereas we actually need to have these conversations so that we can, as a community, have people that can help, because you can't do it all alone. Like, you can't fix every single guy's issues as you're a 22-year-old trying to go through your own life. I can't do that either. Ben can't do that. And sometimes when we're giving advice as well, it's not to say you have to come to us, but it's like, please find people within your community, because Joey can't do it by himself. Like, Ben can't do it by himself. But we need more people willing to step up in the community. We are getting
better at it. My advice would just be, surround yourself with people that care, not fake friends. And Ben, it sounds like you've done that. You've got a bunch of mates that you can go have a pint with, and either wind back the clock or say what's going on in your life and what your demons are. And I think that's really special to hear, because if you've got that, then you can have a pretty clean week, so you've got everything out off your chest, and that's pretty important, I think.
It's important. The people that you spend time with are the people that you will learn things from and become like, right? And so if you're surrounding yourself with people that are progressing in life and looking to make changes in life, you will naturally, you don't have an option other than to progress. Because when you know you're the loser of your friend group, that's a big motivator. You know, when you know you're the person that's lagging behind
Gone
and
again.
he's gone again. He's gone again. Is that a song? I think it's a song. I am weird, but guess what? I embrace myself.
Holding each other accountable, I think, is what you need from anybody. Like, a perfect example is Kieran, who was a guest on season 1. When I don't turn up to training for a little bit and I say, look, I want to get better, I want to join this class, he just laughs at me and goes, man, you need to be
It's
consistent. You
very
need to get your
direct.
shit together and you need to
Yeah.
sort it out. I'm not going to hand it to you. You've got to be accountable for your mistakes. And I'm like, oh, okay, I didn't need the brutality of it, but I did. And then that's the thing. I have more respect for him than a lot of people because of that, because he calls me out on it. That's just how it needs to be sometimes.
So on the topic of accountability, right? We see a lot. Well, at least I see a lot. Maybe you guys don't, but we see a lot that comes up a lot when there's like domestic violence situations and that kind of thing. And a lot of the time, people say, "Oh, why didn't his mates call him out?" and that kind of thing. But like the thing with that I find quite interesting is actually a lot of the time as guys we will we're like, why did you do that or whatever. But I think guys tend to operate quite differently, generally speaking, than women, for example. Like we don't have as much of a hive mentality, and guys tend to be a bit more recalcitrant. So I might tell Ben, don't spend. In fact, Ben's getting a tattoo, right? And I'm like, bro, don't get a tattoo. That's stupid. Like, save your money because he has some other things that he wants to do right now. But Ben will just go and do it anyway, right? And so I always find that conversation really intriguing because generally guys do try and, especially if you do have that good friendship group that we've just described, generally guys do try and hold other guys accountable and say, hey,
100%.
look, mate, I don't think you're progressing in the way you need to, or I don't think that behavior was acceptable. But it becomes very sticky when it gets that domestic violence kind of area because a lot of the times we find that other guys are being blamed for not holding that guy accountable. But we have to realize that a lot of the times these guys act of their own accord. I've never been a part of any friendship group ever, and like I've moved a lot. I used to move around in the UK every 3 years, right? And I lived in Sydney for a bit before I came to Canberra as well, right? I've never ever been in a friend group where any of that behavior has been condoned.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's where it's a very sticky situation as well. Like, yeah, this is a topic that I think whatever any of us say, we're going to have a
Mm.
lot of opinions come through. So I really like this in the sense of whatever we say, somebody's going to come back with an argument or agree with us. I don't think we're going to get 100%.
But like you can't, whilst there's the whole stigma around men's mental health, you've also got to like remember we're blokes, we kind of lash out at things, and it's not intentional. It's not to hurt anyone. It's just we have moments where we're angry at someone, and we can't control that. We honestly cannot control that.
Mm.
You can walk around and punch a wall, just breathe, but it's still who we are. We get angry and we get upset. And it's not ideal that fighting is, what happens, but sometimes, and unfortunately it is, but, that's just life, I think. But if it's happening often, then yes, you get it.
But also, why would you surround yourself with people who don't keep themselves to a same level as you in the way of your morals and values and your ethics as well? And then she would do the same. It's just kind of like, it's a no-win situation. I lose two people who I do care about, or I see them tear each other apart.
You didn't want to get involved in that situation, so you as a man made the decision to step away, right? But then will society then criticize you for saying, you know what, like I've tried then, but like I can't, like I shouldn't be in this anymore because the more I get involved in this, the more it's now affecting my own world. Do you know what I mean? And it's these decisions that
you have to put yourself first. You have to go do what's best for you. Like, leaving people behind isn't always leaving people behind. It's just you're taking one step forward in your own journey. That's all it is.
I think that comes back to, you know, maybe there is that kind of attachment within the group, which you mightn't know what it is, whether it's, you know, popularity or something like that. But you've just got to get out of kind of that headspace. You know, I lived in the city, so in the city of Melbourne, when I grew up and I left because, you know, I love all my mates, but, you know, I just had this little toxic thing and I just wanted to expand. So I came down to this little coastal area, which I'm now living in. You know, I'm in a group where, you know, we're all so tight and it's, you know, I'm happier here and, you know, it's done me wonders. Whereas in Melbourne, I just kind of didn't feel like myself a lot of the time. And then when I came down here, I'm myself more than ever. So, you know, you've just, popularity can honestly get.
I know what you mean. It's the environment. You've touched on something really good there. You noticed that the environment you were in wasn't good for you. And so you decided, okay, look, you know, actually it's probably best I relocate and find something else because the people I'm around right now aren't helping me in my current situations, and I need to be in a better place for myself.
Yeah, and it's not a reflection of my mates. It was just, you know, where I was at that time in my life, and, you know, I just wanted to better myself, and, you know, I still love all my mates.
Yeah, for sure. But, yeah, you have to just be aware of, okay, look, these are people that, you know, are headed in a similar direction to me. So yeah, okay, look, we can do this. But then when you see, you know, people upholding behaviors that you no longer agree with and whatever, that's when you should start reevaluating those friendships and saying, well, what am I giving to this and what am I getting from this? Because you're right, everybody is selfish. And so the way that, like, everybody is inherently selfish. Everybody's primal care is themselves. And that makes sense, right? It is important to look after yourself. But then what we have to do as well as we mature and we develop is we have to have that understanding of balance and realize, okay, look, I am important, but I also got to make sure that I'm doing what I can to make sure I can attend to the different people in my life. And if you take on too many people in your life or too many things, you find that you don't have the time or you don't have the energy and effort to maintain those relationships in the way you would like. And that's why what's best for all parties is, you know, you evaluate those friendships and say, look, all right, look, I still respect this person, but I'm going to have to pull away from this person because now I'm headed in this direction. And especially, you know, in these discovery years, as we've already talked about, it can be hard to do that because some of those people you were friends with at school, you didn't even know why you were friends with them, but you were just friends with them. And then now it's hard to do something different to what they're doing.
Yeah. No, like what you were saying, like how you bring it out to your mates. A lot of people go, where do I start? Well, just start. You don't have to start from the beginning. You don't have to say, when I was 3 years old, this all happened. Literally say, yesterday, this thing happened, it bothered me. Then this thing happened, and just get all the stuff that's been weighing on your shoulders. And like you said, Joey, as well, you don't know what you're missing out on until you say it. It's scary, it's daunting, and you'll hate your friends at the time for pushing you, and you'll be like, I don't want to talk, I don't want to talk. And you'll lash out. I've done that multiple times when my brother's gone, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on? And I've turned around and I've slapped him and just gone, piss off, like I don't want to talk. And then there's been times where I've finally told him and I've broke down and cried in my brother's arms.
For me, opening up is honestly the most amazing feeling ever. It is so good. Like, I'll open up to my best mate or my mum or dad or siblings, and it's just this weight off your shoulder, and you're like, wow. Like, it's, you know, you're in such like a little cave when you don't tell anyone, but when you tell people, it's just this absurd amount of weight coming off your shoulders, and you're like, I feel great. And the fact that people can't do that, it's just like, and I know it's hard for some people, but it's like you don't know what you're missing out on. Like, you're just that much weight off your shoulders. It's deep, but it's life saving in my opinion. And like, obviously with your brother, you know, it's obviously a bit harder to open up with because, you know, he's your brother, and you know you talk smack with them. But no, brothers are honestly, if you can start that conversation, they're probably one of the better people in your list of people, you know, to have a chat to.
Especially older brothers, I really believe it's the role of older brothers to be a guardian for the younger brothers, because sometimes there can be a bit of a generational standoff between parents and kids. And if you have brothers or strong male figures in your life, it's important that you find people that you can lean on to really get those things off your chest.
The Speak Share boys, their quote, and it sticks out to me a whole lot. Their quote is, "A problem shared is a problem halved." I think that's pretty important.
That's amazing. You've dropped two really good quotes today, Dan.
Yeah, it's a good one, isn't it?
It's necessary. It's vital. But yeah, all right. We'll end things on that note. But thank you very much, Joey, for coming and sharing your thoughts and telling us your story. We really appreciated having you.
No worries, lads. Hope I helped out somewhat.
100%.